Welcome to this month's episode of the World of Roofing podcast, hosted by John Kenny of Cotney Consulting and Andrew Rowley of roofmapping.com, where we will introduce you to a new roofing industry artisan from around the world.
All right, welcome back everybody for another episode of the World in Roofing. I'm John Kenny with Cotney Consulting Group, and again, I'm joined here by my favorite of all-time co-host, Andrew Rowley, over there in Great Britain. Andrew, we had the pleasure last time of you being over here in the United States, and we did one live together. How are things going?
Yeah, it's very good. It's been very hectic. Obviously, my wife's had major surgery. You've had Ian, so yeah, it's been a busy time, but an interesting one. But yeah, I'm glad things are fairly back to normal now.
Yeah, I hear you there. We had to put a little space between us. We with the Ian, with the hurricane, the power loss, and getting back up to speed, but we're back and rolling now, which is good. So today we are, it's our pleasure to have Henry Staggs on with us. Henry resides in Phoenix, Arizona. Is that correct, Henry?
Yes, sir. Well, Maricopa, Arizona, close by.
Excellent. And you've been in the roofing industry how long?
Well, I started with my granddad when I was 12. I'm 53 now. So as far as I can remember, I did try to escape a few times, but I got dragged back in.
You can't, can you? Keeps dragging you in.
You can't get away.
This is just like the Godfather series. Once you're in, you never get out. You're in. We're all that way.
Like it sometimes, yeah.
So really, Henry, I want to kick. So I know you've seen our show before. What we like to do is bring in an industry professional from different parts of the world. Today is this month is we're pleasure to have you in here. Really, this is about your passion and what you're doing. I notice a lot of good things. I follow you on LinkedIn. I see what you're doing out there in Arizona. So why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself, your history, and then jump into your current passions you got going on today.
Well, when I was young, I had kind of an interesting childhood. I was in the streets for several years until 17, 19 years old or whatever. And, some of it's kind of fuzzy, but my savior was roofing. Some guy saw me walking down the street with a bucket of tools, and he said, "What the are you doing?" And I told him, and he introduced me to roofing, which was a dirty, nasty, dangerous job nobody wanted. But I would take it because, it was a moneymaker for me. And then by the time I was, before I was even 21, I had a company going and was working as a second tier subcontractor on a military base, which I wasn't supposed to be doing, but somehow I found myself there. And I've been, ever since then, just kind of, scrapping along at a few different companies here and there, did some handyman stuff. And every chance I got, and this probably speaks more of my passion than roofing, is whenever I got an opportunity to get any education at all, I didn't care what it was. I go to class, take a course, got into university, I would take it. For example, I had an opportunity to go into university, but in order to get it paid for, I had to become a hospital chaplain for about 4 or 5 years. So I did that to get that university education, and I took psychology courses there. And my hope was at the time was to maybe leave the industry and become an addictions counselor for alcohol and drugs and whatnot, because in my past, when I was living in the streets, I had a lot of run-ins and encounters with those folks and had my own trials and tribulations in that area as well. So that's kind of where my passion is. And now, at my age, and I have a teenager, I see young people out there getting ready to step into the world. And I know the good, the bad, and the ugly of the world out there. And I really want to do whatever I can do in my capacity to help a young person get off on the right foot, get started in the right way, so that when they get to be my age, they're looking more at retirement and doing well for themselves, and have had a decent, happy life and a good career, rather than scratching and fighting for every little nickel they can get. So, it doesn't have to be bad. In the roofing industry, it just opens up a lot of doors for a lot of different people, because there's, very, very low bar of entry. Maybe we can change that a little bit, but pretty much anybody who can climb a ladder or has the desire can get into the industry and do well. So I've been working, well, I was doing consulting for a while, and I sold that company, and I started this company, Factory Direct Roofing, and we do low slope restoration here in Phoenix, Arizona right now. And I'm trying to build that company along with some young guys who are in their 20s, and they wanted to get the company going, and they brought me on board to be the old man to help them. And I'm kind of having fun with that. After we finish here, I'm going to have lunch and interview our first business development officer, potential business development officer. She's a social worker who has the same passions I do too. And anyways, moving forward, I ended up spending some time helping with the NCCER roofing levels 1 and level 2 program, wanting to bring more standardized training to the industry rather than kind of this hit and miss and all over the board sort of stuff.
So Henry, let me ask you this. Let me stop you there, because a lot of our viewers may not know what NCCER is. Could you tell us a little bit what they do?
Yeah, National Center of Construction, Education, and Research. They're the organization that does all the work to produce the textbooks for trade schools. Your plumbing, masonry, carpentry, now roofing's level 1, level 2. That's who those folks are. They're not for profit, so they're not in this to make money. They're in it to build a better future for young people, which is why I like them. And they worked with the NRCA to develop this program. So I had the pleasure of speaking with Mr. Reed Ribbles during my interview process to be considered a subject matter expert and join the team there. That opened a few more doors, and it got me into a college environment as an adjunct. That's kind of slowed down now, but I worked with the local college here, teaching various construction programs there. Not really roofing. They're still on the fence about that, but it's getting closer. I mean, they're doing trades training in the colleges now, hands-on. So that's a step in the right direction as far as I'm concerned. So that's where I'm at now. I just want to help young people get out there and do it right and succeed. Everybody needs help. Everybody needs someone to kind of prop them up and help them out, give them a hand up. All three of us do, for sure.
Yeah. So also too, I know a little side story I'd love you to tell the people. I know you were you see more and more of it out there, but I'm pretty sure you were the first to get your state with your governor to declare National Roofing Month.
Yeah. So the first year, a flat out rejection. The second year, they said yes. And I was really excited, and I was going to go down and pick up my paper and all that. And I don't know what I had in my head I was going to go. But when I got there, a young girl came down from an elevator, handed me an envelope and said, "Thank you," and left. So it was kind of unceremonious, but I still think a step in the right direction, because it at least brings attention to our industry. And what that did for me, though, it did help me further establish my relationship with the Office of Apprenticeship here in Arizona, and with our director out there, Mr. Higgins. And him and I have a lot of conversations consistently about that. And they're completely on board with the idea of standardized training. And there's other industries that do it, and we can see their success in their industries. The plumbing, HVAC, masonry, especially here in town, they do that. But and then I spent that entire month, by the way, every Monday I was on the radio with somebody from the industry talking about roofing and or their part in the industry. I had the director of our registry of contractors came on and spoke. We had the guy that runs our local OSHA, is called ADOSH. He came on and talked about fall protection safety. Had a safety lady from safetyhelptoday.com. She came on as well, and some roofing contractors as well, kind of a smaller company. And then one of the guys from Progressive Roofing came on and talked about, job opportunities in roofing, which are abundant right now. So yeah, that was a very exciting month. Wore me down to the bone, I tell you what. Radio, oh, I don't know how those radio hosts can do it. I have a lot more respect for them now. Just 15 minutes on Monday mornings was yeah, wearing me thin.
Sure. So, one of the things you brought up about the shortage of jobs, no stretch of imagination on that whatsoever. I recently did a couple different surveys. I did one on LinkedIn, and I did one sent out to contractors, and I'm going to release the results of that fairly shortly here out to the public. But I think what I've seen so far, kind of just giving you a little insight into that, is wherever, if we think we're 2-3 million jobs short, or 500,000, whatever the thought was, we're probably 4 or 5 times that amount short just in roofing. Because the feedback coming from contractors is regardless of the economy, they don't have enough people. So even if the economy slows down, they don't have enough people. So that's an interesting way that they looked at it. So we'll be releasing that coming up. I guess what I'd like to ask you, kind of share with us, what's your advice? We'll pretend that I'm a young person, even though I'm not. We'll pretend I am. And somebody comes up and they run into you, or you get out through a promotion. Say they're 18, maybe they're coming out of high school, maybe they've been out a year or two, but they really all of a sudden got roofing looks pretty interesting to me. What would you tell them to do? What would you suggest how they start their career path?
Well, first of all, education, and whatever education a person can get, because it all applies. Mine was in psychology, so obviously it applies when I'm dealing with people and sales and things like that. But I would also suggest that they do 2 things. Look for a company who values training. There's not every company values training, and their employees seem kind of expendable, at least the way they treat them. Find a company who has offers that training, because training brings dignity and respect to yourself, for yourself, and for others. And then it'll show through in the workmanship as well. And the better your workmanship is, as you're doing your job and you're getting your pats on the back and you're seeing the results of your work, the more you're going to strive to be even better than that. So that's what I would suggest, is find a company who's willing to foster your desire to train, grow, and improve, not just on your hands-on skills, but in your personal and your professional growth as well, and your intellectual growth. That really matters a lot.
Yeah, I think that's an important tip or fact that you brought up, because I know, speaking to a lot of young people like I do, they want to start out on the roof. Some of them do, to get that experience, which I highly recommend. It's good to learn the trade you're going into, but they may only want a 3 to 5 year pathway before they can start to do, say, estimating, sales, project management, administrative work, etc., or maybe work into distribution field, manufacturing. There's a lot of crossover out there. So I think that is a good point. It's not just hands-on trade education. You want to get the continuing ed. And I think the nice thing about our industry is you don't have to have that commitment to go to a 4-year college or even a 2-year. Right. Just taking the classes that you need to take to benefit you, and there's a lot of resources out there even beyond college. Anything else you may want to add on that, or what you think about it?
Yeah, the openings are more than just on the roof, like you just alluded to. That there's business development, sales, technology. The use of drones in our industry now is becoming more and more prevalent. So it's like I was saying on the radio, it's on and off the roof. There's thousands and thousands of jobs available. When we talk about a need for skilled workers, we're really only talking about the guys we need out there on the roof. It doesn't really discuss the we need good estimators. You got to be, very good at math, and you got to be able to sort of have a crystal ball and predict things and have an understanding of cause and effect and all that sort of stuff. And technology is growing. We've got, infrared, and we've got the moisture scanning, we've got drones, and that's only going to improve over time. And pretty soon we'll have drones that can just fly up there and do complete assessments, which will put a lot of people out of business. But then you have the other side of the industry I used to be in, which was the consulting side and advising clients and helping educate clients. And so the clients will understand what kind of contractor to look for. And they're going to look for the kind of contractor, at least in my business, that does appreciate technology, training, and education, and brings that to their boots on the roof, as well as the folks in the office. We can't forget that those people working in that office are just as important as the installer. That sales guy, the estimator, the person doing the books, they have to be as good at their job as the guy installing the roof for the whole thing to come together. So there's no lesser in the industry. But when I had a company in Oklahoma, I had some guys were kind of complaining about, how easy the office work was. So I rotated them all through the office job and let them all do it for one day. That's all it took, one day. After one day of answering phones and dealing with clients and doing the books and all the stuff that the office ladies had to deal with, they appreciated them a lot more, and they never complained again about the office staff. They were much more courteous and polite. So yeah, just to kind of widen our view of what skilled labor really means. And Like right now, we have a young guy who's coming on board with us pretty soon, and I can already see he's more inclined to do sales and business development than installation. He's smart. He's got a real good attitude. He's a likable guy, and he's already speaks the language of a salesperson. He's always trying to close a deal. So but like you said before, we do believe that he needs to at least be on the roof for a little while, a couple years at least, so he can have a feel for the dirt and the grind that you got to get into up there, which will make him only better at what he's going to do. So yeah, I would say don't think about, well, I'm going to be a roofer and that's the end all and be all. No, you could move into different parts of the industry and still do something very different, but stay in the industry that's helped to grow and foster you. Standardized training is very important to
No, I agree with that, and I think you brought up a great point there. Sometimes the best lessons in life is walking in someone else's shoes, and I think that's really important in our industry to have that experience. That's more than just the lane you're in. You got to go outside the lane. Andrew, I'm going to kick it on over to you. Anything you want to ask, or we didn't bring up, or questions on anything?
No, it was just what Henry said about there's so many different people involved in it. Recently I just put for my day job, as it were, for Peak Building Consultants, I was going out to visit a roof that's being worked on, and I took a photo of some slate work that's being done, beautifully installed, put the photos on, had a lot of comments, brilliant work, but it's not, and what roofmapping.com is, it's that photo, it's that wow factor, it's the inspiration, but it's all of that information that's behind the photo as well, because you've got the installers, you've got the buyers, the estimators, the consultants going out to do the condition surveys, writing the specifications. There's so much involved to get to that end product of a finished roof, but people don't always see that. And that's what I'd like to expand on roofmapping.com is, if you did the calculation, say, put it on the map and say, yeah, I was involved in this. I did the estimating, or I did the drone survey. So whatever you've done in the roofing industry, we want you to be able to literally put it on the map and say, yeah, I was involved in this. And hopefully with the education side, I was talking to an educator here in the UK who was, I'd like to use your website to show some of the kids or people that are on training what roofs have been done, so they can actually see some of the quality work and think, well, okay, I'd like to be able to do that. And it might be that you look at stuff that's done all over the world. Like, I'd never install it because it's not where I'm from, but you look at the bamboo roofs over in sort of Bali in Indonesia, they're just fantastic to look at. And they're like, wow, they can do that with bamboo. And, you might look at other metalwork, and I look at some of the folded metalwork that's done and think, how on earth have they taken a flat sheet of metal and made a beautiful roof like this with the standing seams and the end details? So for me, I'm inspired by the work that's done. And what I want to do is help the younger generation be inspired as well, to think, actually, that's something I'd like to do, instead of maybe being a blogger or a TikTok star, because that's what they're looking at mostly. I'm not saying I'm going to take over the world and make everyone like roofs, but that's part of what I'd like to do with the platform, is to help inspire that next generation, whether it be a fitter, an estimator, someone. I spent 9 years designing tapered insulation, and I absolutely loved it. Never a job that I'd heard of at school. It was something I fell into, but it's a great industry, and that's what led me to all the contacts that I have within the roofing industry. But yeah, there's so many different avenues, and we just need to speak more about them, and make it not what Henry was told. It's a dirty, cold, wet and windy job. Sometimes it can be, don't get me wrong, but other times it's it's good. And I would just love to be able to do what I see people do with slates and metal and liquids and felts and everything else. It's just, for me, it's just great to see.
Yeah, you do it correctly as an installer. You get to bring the artistic person out in yourself, because there's a lot of art to installing roofs.
Yeah,
as you have behind you with the thatching.
Yeah, well, exactly. How they do that with a bundle of straw, I've got no idea.
Are the geese up there? Is that also straw?
Yes, yeah. So Joe, who's done this one, he does different, like those are, I think they're swans actually, but he does hares and all sorts. And right. I know he's got one customer where they've got a little hare for each of their grandkids. So as they get more, he adds another one up onto the ridge. So he's built quite a relationship with that particular house owner over the years. So,
amazing.
Yeah, it's those little details that contractors can do, isn't it? make it a bit different.
Absolutely. Well, Henry, I'm going to kick it back over to you for any closing remarks or comments, or anything that we didn't come out and ask you that you'd like to share with our audience today before we close it out.
Well, I was speaking with some of the government officials here, and they said, Henry, sounds like what you and all these other folks are trying to do is professionalize your industry. Make it not a last resort job that you take because you can't get anything else, but make it an actual career that people seek to be a part of, and they look for it. And that's why I do what I do, which is not a lot, but you know, I hit these trade schools up, and recently been doing stuff with Habitat for Humanity. I really like working with those folks out there. And there's more programs that are popping up where they're paying students to come and get the training and then helping them find the jobs in the industry. So I would really like to see more of that, more manufacturers, contractors, and distributors kicking in to help pay students to go to the classes to become skilled tradesmen. Roofing, you know, obviously is my interest, but any skilled trades really, and send them out with the right tools. And when I say right tools, I don't mean your tool bag. I'm talking about up here, and knowing how to lift something properly, knowing how to work safely, and knowing when to say, no, I'm not going to do that, because you know, I have a back injury that I have to get some surgery for here pretty soon, and that's just simply because I carried those heavy rolls right up on my shoulder, up on the roof, and those bundles, and everybody's yelling, "Do it, get it up there, let's go, rock and roll," you know, all that. And I ran my company like that for a long time too, before I started getting a little older and feeling it. And so that's what I want, is help in whatever little way I can, help a young person feel good about themselves and their career. I just don't want this to be like, oh, I can't do nothing else, I may as well do roofing. You know, I don't want that. I want people to go, yeah, I'm a roofer. Yeah, let me go get this done. So
Yeah.
roofing is an art. We can make anything, and have, if you look the history of roofing, like the roof behind Andrew there, roofers are very good at taking just about anything we can find and figuring out a way to turn it into a roof system. It's just anything from, you know, the old tar coal lamps, you know, and then somebody came along and found you know, the mucky, nasty oil from gas refinery, and said, I can make roofing out of that. I can make roofing out of straw. I can make roofing out of bamboo, rock, whatever you give a roofer, that guy will figure out how to turn it into a roof, or a part of a roof. And yeah, roofing is art. I love it.
Excellent. All right. Well, it was great having you on today. A lot of great knowledge, and I'm gonna say keep the word going. I think that's a great. I'd like to quote you on that. I love that. Roofing is not a last resort industry. It is definitely a professional industry. That was a great point you brought up.
Yes.
And so, again, to our viewers, we welcome you back. We look forward to having you on the next one. Next month we'll have another guest. I believe, Andrew, might be going to Europe next month.
Possibly, or maybe even Costa Rica, or maybe Bali.
So again, we're going to bring that world experience out to you every month. Henry, thank you very much for joining us today. And Andrew, always a pleasure. Good to see you again.
Thank you.
Take care, everybody. See you next round.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye now.